Hey, hi, hello. Good afternoon. Happy weekend. Hope everyone's had a good one so far. I have been taking it easy. No. It's summer. It's hot out. I really don't want to do anything that's gonna, you know, um, wear me out, a whole lot. Or at the very least, maybe potentially put myself in harm's way, because, hey, the heat and the light, bright light, and the UV rays and all that. There's a lot of chances, you know, things could go wrong. So, yeah, just been really, really kicking back and things like that. And, well, I hope your weekend has been going well, regardless of what you were doing, whether you be relaxing or whether you're super busy. Yeah, I hope everything fell into place. And this is going to be the segue into Soulstone Survivors because they done a lot of stuff to this game. Right, not just add new characters, weapons, and skills. That's all pretty cool, but like I said on Twitter, they've had a pretty significant overhaul to a bunch of the systems they've had in their games. So we can go through that real quick, and then I can get into a run here and show off some of the other stuff. So you can see here, right, this is one of the new characters they added. The Monkey King, Sun Wukong, Goku, whatever you call him. Just really styling on that staff there. Anyways, there's the runes. Not sure if this was in the last update, but they've gone in, really organized things a lot. Also split them up into two major categories. So you have versatility. These tend to affect things like the skill pool you can pull from, or other things like materials you can pick up. And then they have tenacity runes, which affect your stats, and maybe give you some other perks during a run. And I'm covering it up right now, but the rune screen was overhauled too. So if you remember before, you only had five slots, but now they've switched it up. You get 3 versatility slots, and then 4 tenacity slots. The 4 tenacity slots are limited by runic power. Versatility is just you pick 3 and have your fun with that. So that's cool. I also like how they're grouped too into sort of vague categorization. So say you have all the runes that affect status ailments in one area, runes that affect your summons in one area, and so on and so forth. So that's cool. Skill tree is, well, actually that one is the same as before. It's just got more slots, more sections on here now because you got more characters to play with. It's actually funny and pretty elegant. I guess the most elegant way they could have grouped it out with how many characters they have, right? Some of the character exclusive skill trees are on the inner ring, and some of them are on the outer ring. No, nothing except just the appearance of it, right? So it doesn't really change anything. We have here the blacksmith. This one's pretty similar, although actually an interesting change here. Yeah. So you don't just craft weapons anymore, you can also upgrade them. And if you hit a certain level, I'm assuming, you can unlock artifact power, but that's not in yet. They say it's coming soon. Little tease of what's to come, so interesting to note. Also a reason to keep on doing runs and gathering materials, right? That's the thing with these kinds of games, right? The ones where you gotta use resources to do stuff. Eventually you reach a point where you've spent all your resources on all the good stuff, or maybe you just run out of places in which to spend them, so you're just accumulating them for no reason. So it's interesting to see the different ways games tackle that sort of resource sink issue, right? Whether it be introducing a material exchange in some games, or in this one where they have Um, they're increasing weapon levels to let you spend more materials, or some of them might have like some sort of thing that you can just spend infinitely into to provide yourself a minor benefit. We'll see how things work out, but without further ado, let's see some of these new characters. We got one called the Myrmidon, very water mermaid themed, unsurprisingly. Oh, and here's some more changes. So you can see they've kind of overhauled this UI a bit too. Also a little bit of tease over here. Coming soon. Oh boy. This mode is under development. Makes me curious, right? What's coming? Why does it look so ornate and ominous? So you still get the 5 fields to survive on, but they've changed up the Curses of the Void a bit. Yeah. Like, you can already see from the appearance here. Remember how this used to be like a bit of a zigzag, but now it's on a straight line? Also overhauled like how these curses work, so you don't have to pick every curse in a particular section to enable that level. You just need to like hit certain point thresholds, which you can see here on the bonuses. As you hit them, they'll tell you what additional stuff you can get. Also, some of them just like marked purple, because they are powerful. They will make your life much harder than some of these more minor curses would. Alright, so there are other changes, but probably have to jump into a round for this. Still find it amusing that this game calls them matches. Because they are, but whereas other games tend to call them like runs or rounds or stages or something like that, this one's like a match. It's like you're getting dropped into an arena, right? It's like a Ratchet and Clank style arena battle. You're just facing off waves of enemies. Yeah, the Myrmidon's class-specific thing is that they build fervor, and once that meter maxes out, then they enter a super mode and start kicking butt left and right. I swear, video games have kind of warped my perception of like the way certain words are, right? Because I play Fire Emblem, and in that game, our Myrmidon class is like crit hit, sword master, vaguely samurai-esque kind of deal, but I feel like in most other games, Myrmidons tend to have a more nautical theme to them. Or something like, say, Troubadour, right? Troubadour is, tends to be like, a walking musician, but in Fire Emblem, they're like cavalry that heal people and wield staves and stuff. Like, say, Final Fantasy with the Dragoons, right? Final Fantasy Dragoon, they like got spears and stuff, and they jump and stab you from above with their spears. I feel like, but then we had like what, the Dragoon from Etrian Odyssey 5, which was more of a tank type, a character, frontline fighter, and they used guns. I guess that's like the trouble of trying to figure out like the skill set of a character, and then trying to determine, okay, so what's the best word that we can attach to this? It's probably like a challenge, right? I'll go with might. Make them stronger. You can see they've added like a couple of new ability types as well, right? Like you're seeing here, like a amount of fervor you gain. So this is like your class-specific resource. Though the other classes also have things like that, where they'll have specific abilities that will kind of boost their class resource acquisition rate. That's pretty cool. Oh, here's the other big change. So you remember how, you know, in updates prior, yeah, in updates prior, you had, you know, more bosses would appear in higher difficulty levels, but they would throw them at you all at once, so, you know, you hit, like, a high enough curse level, and you have, like, 5 bosses bearing down on you, like, per, you know, per enemy threshold. They've changed that up, like, pretty significantly, so, now you'll still have to fight, like, you know, a specified number of bosses, but that's like one of the new curse modifiers you can pick from. You can choose how many of them you want to fight at once. So that's nice, so that way you're not getting overwhelmed. Also, the other big change is that, you might have noticed it, but the enemy counter just stops ticking up once the bosses come out. Because that was kind of like the big thing in prior versions, where the bosses, they would come out all at once, and they would usually be so jacked, right, that you wouldn't be able to kill them before you hit the next enemy milestone. So eventually, the higher curse levels would just be gigantic boss marathons, where you're just fighting boss after boss after boss, and you got like a billion red markers everywhere, and you know, just got like super overwhelming because you never had a break until you killed every last one of them. Oh, that's the other thing, right? It's just that now when you get like a legendary ability that shows up, they get a nice sound cue to let you know, hey, there's a cool thing here. Not to mention that nice little shimmering sound. 5 bosses at once, that's just overkill. Indeed it is. I'm glad that's the one thing they fixed, because it's like, whew. At the highest levels, it felt like there was only a handful of characters that were viable. Otherwise, you were just going to get overwhelmed, right? Even like all the reflexes in the world couldn't save you from all the red markers that would just show up. Also, good evening. Yes, good evening to you, Molecular Shadow Fox. Good to see you as always. How are you doing? There we go. Another legendary power. As before, they use WoW colors, right? White, green, blue, purple, orange. Has there been a game that has not used WoW colors or like a bronze, silver, gold to denote like rarity tiers? I mean, I know some games might do like some slight color variations, like Hades might introduce red on top of that, or they might omit colors, or they might change the order of some colors, but pretty most part, it's like those two. If you know, they're going for colors, right? They could also go for like letter ranks, or maybe a number of stars, or maybe just like a tier X or something like that. Oh wait, do I have to go to this trident to... Okay, yeah. And now we get ourselves to super mode! Myrmidon has become Myrmidonier. Not too bad, thanks. Done nothing but sleep today. Was on Forza and Convoy till 6 this morning. Ooh! I hope it was a fun convoy. Sometimes you just have one of those nights, right? You just have a night where, you know, the things just are so good that you really don't want to get off, so you stay on even though, you know, it's past like any reasonable point where you should be staying on. It's always like that at night, right? Before you're about to go to sleep is like when things get the most interesting, right? You just decide, oh, hey, I'm gonna go click on this wiki link. Ooh, this is a topic. Oh, hey, here's some other topics that seem interesting right now at the moment. Let's check them out too. And then one thing leads to another, and you realize, oh, hey, I had to get up in like 2 hours. Well, get up in quotes, because, you know, I'm already up. And then by then, it's like, at that point, well, might as well stay up, right? We're gonna go for an all-nighter, baby, because at that point, you know, if you fall asleep, you're gonna end up waking up way later than you want to. And depending on the time, depending on the day, depending on what you're doing, might not be advisable. Trying to deal with moronic teammates in the trial. Oof. What's new, right? Falling down the rabbit hole, right? Always gotta be careful about that rabbit hole. Let's see, so when the meter fills up, I gotta go seek out the giant trident in the ground. And that will let me, like, really take it to town on these folks here. I do know that this game probably had, like, other substantial changes, but rather interestingly enough, I guess there was enough of an outcry, right? Because they just kind of dropped the big overhaul update kind of out of nowhere. I guess enough people weren't happy about that because they took it back, right? They took it back, I think, maybe a few hours, a few days at most later. And they were like, yeah, sorry, we probably shouldn't have just dumped all these changes on you. And they actually said, okay, we're gonna, like, talk with you and see, like, what y'all like and what y'all want to keep and what y'all cool with changing. And then they brought out, like, an improved version of the update sometime later. And this is where we're at now. So, hey, that's pretty cool, right? Devs that listen to the community when they need to. They're like, hey, sorry we messed up. We'll do right by you. I swear, trying to hunt down this trident can be a bit of an exercise sometimes. All-nighter is me on the Wednesday on your race day. Stay up to watch that, get some breakfast and a coffee, and enjoy my day off. There we go. I'm kind of flattered, though. It's like, man, I think that people would have a routine based on me. No, I'm glad to be a part of your day. But on the other hand, don't feel like you need to strain yourself, right? If you have something that you absolutely need to do, right? Prioritize yourself first. I will still be here. Make sure you take care of yourself. Gotta have the race day fix. Yeah, there you go. You know what I almost missed out on? The Xbox 360 store closing down. I think it's actually going down tomorrow, but I saw on Twitter, it's like, oh yeah, the store's gonna shut down on the 29th, so make sure you get what you can. And I was like, oh snap, I should probably get on there and take a look at everything. Right, so I brought up like two lists, right? The list of like the super big discounts that they were putting on all the way up to the end, right? And then another list of, okay, these are all the digital games that are only on 360, right? You can't get them anywhere else. And I tried to get like a mix of those two, right? The mix of the games that are super discounted and the games that you can only find on Xbox. Because while the store is shutting down, you'll still be able to download stuff. And I know that's not going to stay forever, but at the very least I can, you know, put a delay on that. So yeah, that was like a bit that you know, wasn't cheap, but I figured I might as well have that peace of mind, right? The end of an era, I know, right? I remember when they first like brought out Xbox Live Arcade way back in the day, right? Downloadable games back in the day were like way different too, right? Like these days, you know, the digital games tend to be comparable to like, you know, the retail $60 experiences, but back then, there's a reason why, you know, Microsoft called it the Xbox Live Arcade. They were meant to be like those more bite-sized experiences, right? The kind of things you would start up, maybe play for like 30 minutes or so, or, you know, beat in maybe a few hours. And that's why they were also like, you know, priced that way too. Tended to be cheaper. And, you know, on the achievements front, they were less that way too, right? Like a retail Xbox 360 game would have like 1,000 points worth of achievements, and usually add like 200 more per expansion. But downloadable games had like 200 points worth of achievements, and each expansion usually added 50. Alright, nice thing here too is that you know, once you like touch a portal, you don't automatically like make your decision. You do have to stay there for a bit, so you know, if you realize you're at the wrong spot, you can quickly back off. So that's pretty nice. I remember buying the gift card thingies to add money to my account to buy DLC. Oh my god. Oh yeah, I forgot about Microsoft points. Back when Fun Bucks were like a more standard thing. Yeah, in the US, like $10 got you like 800 points. And on the one hand, yeah, kind of annoying that they would like put in that sort of middleman to try to obfuscate things and trick you into buying more than maybe you would have otherwise, but on the other hand, it made nice transactions kind of sort of clean, right? Because, you know, DLC might be like 400 points, and then you could use like that other 400 points on other stuff, and you know, you can empty it out. You can get to 0 and call it good. Money, you know, just a straight money purchase is obviously better in multiple ways, but then there's also the other thing where, you know, you buy $20, but you're not gonna get like $20 worth of DLC depending on where you are because of taxes and everything. You're always gonna be left with like a few cents left over, unless you're like exceedingly good at math or something like that. Anyways, here's another class, the Engineer. You know, they got giant cannons and miniguns and stuff. A lot of fun. Let's go into the next area, the Caves of Dal Jog? Is that how you pronounce that? Anyways, let's get in here. Yeah, so this fella's whole deal is that he's picking up coal and stuff to get resources. I forget what happens when that meter fills up. Reminds me of that mining game you played a while back. A mining game. Trying to remember that myself. Yeah, once you fill it up, this guy just like gets into a giant Mechatron OP 9001. Haha, get it? Overpowered. Over 9,000! But yeah. First thing that came to mind for me, actually, was the Iron Giant. And that's probably most likely, because, I played a lot of multiverses. Iron Giant in that game is such a pain in the neck. I was doing an event, and that fellow just would not get knocked out for some unfathomable reason. It's a little irritating. You had to mine ore and stuff, and then get in the machine and go to a low. Oh, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor! Yeah, well, that game was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. That game also got like a pretty significant update too. They added like a whole bunch of masteries, which is kind of funny because I remember, like, I got to, I did all the stuff I wanted to do and got to the end and was like, man, I know it's early access, but I kind of like hit the limit, and now there's like no end to things you could do, because yeah, a lot of ways to just like make number go up, because you can like increase the stats that you get in certain biomes, and then you can increase the stats of like your classes, and then you can increase the stats of the weapons you have. So a lot of stuff to do now, and that's on top of like all the bosses they've thrown in there as well. Right, they have some new bosses, so that's pretty cool. Now, still plenty to go, so look forward to it. The Iron Giant so reminds me of that robot that's on the cover of Queen's News of the World. I think I'll just stick with the loadout I have, actually. Also, we're about to have an ad soon, so... Oh, there it is. Yeah, go ahead and, take a break. Get yourself some refreshments. Yeah, as you can see here, the modifier, I have the modifier here so that I'm only fighting one boss at a time. I'm gonna be honest, the way they changed the bosses might be the thing that actually elevates this game from like good to great. Right, because it stops higher levels from just becoming a gigantic boss rush. Also gives you like a bit more control of how you want to manage things, right? Because it's like, yeah, if you want to maybe go back to something close to the old classic, yeah, just like go fight multiple bosses at once. But if you're the type of person who would rather not get overwhelmed, then you can have that too. Gotta admit, I don't know if there's like a modifier that lets the enemy counter continue to run up. You know, while you're fighting the bosses, but I wouldn't be surprised if they added that later if it's not in there. Oh yeah, that's like the other thing they changed, because I remember saying it like a while ago, but I felt like ailments was kind of ailments was kind of like the way to go, or at least it was like the one thing that seemed to be synergistic out of everything. But they've added a lot of other abilities to kind of encourage you to build in other directions. So you'll have certain ones that will say something like, if you have an ability that casts of a certain type that casts, then there's a chance that another ability of another type will also instantly cast. Or something like, you know, for every skill of a certain type you have, other skills that don't have that type will, like, you know, gain a corresponding increase in some sort of parameter. And I'm not sure if they had it in before, but they've also added self-buffs. So there are certain skills, rather than inflicting ailments on an enemy, will give you a buff instead. And they've added like some synergistic things around that. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, a lot of different ways to kind of build yourself to, and gives a bit more variety of things you see, rather than just, oh hey, every time you make someone bleed, you could also make them poisoned. That's still fine and all, but it's nice to have variety, right? How rude, it cut you off mid-sentence. Was like, we're going to an adverts interrupt. I saw the notice and I was like, oh no, it's coming. But I was a bit too late there. I get a notification on my thing that says, hey, the ad's about to start in, like, you know, X number of minutes or seconds. I could choose to, like, how far in advance they tell me. I guess the one thing they haven't done yet is, like, add more seasonal stuff. So far, it's just the Easter egg hunt, the Valentine's Day thing, and then the Christmas thing. Like, I feel like every area is gonna have, like, you know, their special seasonal, thing, right? Like, I feel like, Halloween has gotta be the obvious holiday they haven't done yet. And then, past that, I have to assume they just do, like, some sort of generic summer holiday, right? Not 4th of July, because that's US only, but, you know, they just do, like, some sort of summer beach bash blowout. That might work. Probably low on their priority list. Did you ever play that game Grounded? You know? that game actually comes up with among my friends a lot, and we keep on saying, hey, we should probably check it out, because it's, you know, in 1.0 now. I think they got, like, you know, a bunch of updates since then, too, but I have it installed in my computer and everything, but I just haven't quite, gotten around to it. Largely because, you know, so many games are coming out that kind of grab our attention, too, and since we only get together like twice a week. You gotta pick and choose what you want to play, right? I think the current game all my friends are into at the moment is Diablo 4. Like, I have one that I think a few weeks ago was like, you know, I'm just gonna play it, and then like a couple weeks later, he tells us that he's completed the, like, season track and everything. I'm like, man, really got you. But I get that feel, right? Other games, there are certain other games where I'll just hyper focus on and just play that obsessively. Like, I did that for Deep Rock Galactic last year. I remember, just for a month, I just got on, did all the dailies, and actually completed, like, the Season 3 track, if I remember correctly. I think prior to that, it was Monster Hunter Rise, because I wanted to get, like, layered armor so I could customize the appearance of my hunter. Because, you know, you gotta kick butt. You gotta look good while you're kicking butt, right? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids by Another Name? Yeah, it is. Kind of a neat idea. It's not something you don't see too often, and something that would like lend itself really well to a general crowd. Like, unless they have some sort of phobia of insects, they should be all right. So if I remember correctly, that game also has a arachnophobia setting where you can like change the sliders so that the spiders won't look like spiders. Like, I know some people made a note of it, right? The spiders kind of just like turned into nondescript white blobs, which, you know, at least is something. Insects have never been as terrifying. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, I imagine some people would be absolutely freaked out by it, perhaps understandably so. If I remember correctly, there was another game. There was another game that also had an arachnophobia setting, but instead of like a nondescript white blob, they just put up the word spider, which I don't know if that works any better, because just seeing the capital word spider come at me would probably be just as terrifying. But that's just me. Personally, I would just, like, you know, do a model swap, right? Like, swap the spider for a bear or something like that. I don't know. Might be, like, super out of place, but sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, right? House Flipper had that option for the cockroaches. Oh yeah, they changed the cockroaches to just glass. But, you know, I can at least admire that they did something for that, because, yeah. Yeah, I do appreciate that certain games will have maybe options that, you know, they do that certain things will perhaps maybe not sit too well with certain folks, and let them mitigate it in a way. That's always welcome. Another thing I appreciate that's, if they do it well, is the color blindness options. Because I know some games really just half-ass it and just, you know, throw a color filter on everything and call it a day. But there are some other games that really do try to make an effort to try to accommodate, right? They'll accommodate for different types of color blindness and only change certain parts. I remember watching someone play, I think it was like Far Cry 5. I was wondering why, like, all the stuff looked so purple. I think someone eventually said, oh yeah, it's because they have the color blindness option, right? Like, normally the elements that would appear purple would be red. But, you know, some people obviously can't see red, so they gotta change that so that people can distinguish that kind of stuff. And if it's not like, you know, color swapping options, then they'll usually have other ways for those kinds of folks to kind of tell, right? Maybe they'll add like another symbol or a different texture on each thing. I think that's what like Mario Party Superstars did for one of their mini games, right? It's like the one where you're on like colored mushrooms. They had each color have a different pattern on them. So, you know, even the colorblind folk could still, you know, play that game effectively. So that's pretty cool. I know Forza has a colorblind mode in sign language. Ooh! I know they were lauded for their accessibility options, so yeah, they done right there. It is nice that they have sign language. I didn't realize that. It's very nice for them to accommodate the folks who might need like a hearing aid. or might need like more of a visual aid in that regard, right? Man, this guy is slow as all get out. Also apologize if stream quality is in the toilet. These kinds of games tend to have like a billion things going off at once. Nice thing is that this game at least has options that kind of let you, you know, change how much of stuff you want to see on the screen, so. For example, you can choose to like turn off certain health bars or like group up the damage numbers so that it's all like one big number instead of like individual numbers. And you can just like turn off damage numbers entirely too. That's always good to see. It's all fluid here. Okay, that's good to hear. It was like hitching up a little bit on my end, so not sure if that was like a covenant coming through. Yeah, this is like one of the advantages of having a pause to the enemy counter. Right, if you need to like maybe get away, try to reposition yourself, you don't have to worry about like some sort of artificial time limit. Right, you don't have to worry about more bosses eventually coming down on you. I get why they might do it before. I guess they were trying to discourage just like cheesing your way through by farming enemies while you give the boss the runaround, but I feel like those who maybe don't want to cheese their way through can still do that, but those who might need a little bit of a breathing room, they can have that. That's pretty cool. Also, this is like a way older update, but one thing I appreciate that they have is like a menu time lockout. So I remember some instances very early on where I would press the spacebar to dash, but then the skill ability selector screen would come up and I end up selecting something and I wouldn't even know what I selected. I'd be like, ah, geez, okay. Also, you might notice, right? Remember on the bottom left, they used to have just like a gigantic line of icons representing the things you got, but now they've kind of consolidated it into this, so it's not out in the open anymore, cluttering up your screen. You can just mouse over it and open it if you need to. And I'm not sure when they added this, but it's nice to see like all the materials you've gathered out here. In any case, let's get out of here. Even with all this, they're still more manageable than slimes in that other game. Yeah, slimes. They're like the physical warrior's greatest threat, you know. For the most part, you try to stab them, you try to smash them, you try to cut them, and they're just gonna take it like a champ. That's why having at least a cursory knowledge of magic, or at least some tools of some sort to kind of help you there, is useful. Alright, let's take a look at this fella, the Monkey King. And we're gonna go off to the Whispering Grove here. Oh yeah, that's the other thing they moved off of, like the regular difficulty modifiers. You remember, like, you would have to have these pillars show up too, so on top of like having a zillion bosses bearing down on you, you gotta run around and try to blow up these towers because everything will just become that much more powerful if you don't. But now it's like mostly become optional. You don't have to take every curse, and you don't have to take every curse in like one column either, right? As I said before, as long as you hit certain intensity thresholds, then they'll consider you good. That's pretty cool. I wish there were like more of a more visual indicator to let you know, like when you'd be able to hit the next threshold of stuff, but it's early access. They can still keep working on this, right? Going for that Sun vibe with that staff, yeah. Remember Sun? Had the one arcade game and then like another character with that name in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Still find it rather amusing that even after you know, just pulling in every sprite possible from their, you know, past games, they had to create like 3 original characters for the Capcom side. I guess to kind of give it that like 50-50 split. As you can imagine, Monkey King's class resource is all about the yin and the yang. I gotta collect these icons and bring them together. Right, 3 of each, and then you get to do one of you know, Sun Wukong's classic abilities. Make clones of himself. Let's see, it looks like I got enough of the white pieces. I need to find the black ones. Here we go. Yoink. Yeah, I can kind of dig this one. Oh, did I mess that up? Or am I just gonna get like a self buff? Ruby Heart was so good, loved her design. And she was kind of like the person who actually assisted the characters a lot too, because they used her pirate ship and stuff, right? There's a reason why people keep wanting her to come back in like future games. Why is there seriously like a lack of lightning skills for the Monkey King here? Oh yeah, skills based on this other thing, so you know, you see that Nimbus lightning there. Right, like the little cloud he rides on. Okay, now I need to make sure I look for the black elements. Oh, here's when it shows up. This might be like one of those things where having a different versatility rune might come in handy. I feel like I'm barely keeping on top of things, even with like the 2 things that you know, improve the number of materials I get. Wait, why did I reroll? I want to just get passives. Here's a probably random question. What is, like, your favorite pirate in the video game, or, like, maybe pirate design? I know you mentioned Ruby Heart, but are there any others that you kind of enjoyed? The one I think that stood out to me a lot was, like, the Corsair from one of the Assassin's Creed multiplayers. I think it was Brotherhood. Kind of enjoyed the way that sort of piratey style. Spinal! Oh yeah! Yeah, there's a good one. Especially in 2013, because they really played up that aspect. I guess the other one I also liked was not necessarily a character, but I like the I think it was like the pirate outfit that Eska could wear, and Natalia, Eska, and Laji. It was like a mix of two different sailor elements, right? You had the pirate coat that was like over a sailor outfit, so an interesting mix of things, and but I thought that was cute and cool. Cervantes de Leon. Forgot about him, but yes, he's a good-looking pirate as well. Why do I keep... I'm good with the skill set I have. I think I just like doing things by reflex. But on top of going back to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, on top of San San and Ruby Heart, there are some folks who remember the third original character they created for that game, a Bingo, right? Remember the cactus guy? It was an interesting one. Yeah, a Bingo. It's like a goofy little fella. And there's like a tiny contingent out there, you know, hoping he shows up in the future game. I kind of hope so, right? Like, as far as crossover characters go, right? If you're gonna have another crossover fighter, then, like, I feel like they could see a spot. He had some cool sprite animations, yeah! I remember, guy was very expressive and very puffy, too. I guess makes sense, because he's a cactus. Is it just me, or did I, like, jack up the area modifier of one of the things so high that it's, like, actually covering the screen now? This thing's just coming out almost instantaneously and just smacking everything in range. Area's like one of those things that's good up to a point. Oh no. Right, like after a certain point it becomes like so large that, well, you're not gonna catch much else because you're already catching almost everything. Remember that super when he'd swallow you and then shake you side to side while holding maracas? Just like flexing on you? Yeah, I got you, and now we're gonna have some fun. It is nice that you're getting a visual indicator, like which boss will become active. You can kind of get a preview too, right? You get like these crystallized purple statues. Let you know, okay, so it's these folks, you gotta get ready for them. Get ready to smack them silly. Hey, saw Seri bot. Went and smited another bot. Way to go, Seri. Keep up the good work. It's always nice, right? It's always nice when you come across a thing that does a lot of the stuff you need it to do, right? Realize, oh man, this is like exactly the kind of thing I needed, or maybe, oh, I didn't realize that like I needed this all this time, and it just improves the quality of the stuff you're doing. Seeing those tornadoes is making me think of Storm and X-Men Children of the Atom. While we're on the subject of Marvel, have you checked out anything about Marvel Rivals? I think that was like in a beta test right now. I saw like a handful of streams on it, and actually, like, seems alright. Bit more shooter than I was expecting, though. Seems like almost every character has like some sort of ranged ability that they can pop off. So I thought it was going to be like, you know, a bit more in your face, and you know, some characters are more melee centric, but it does seem like, yeah, it's you know, a team-based hero shooter, for better or worse. It's got Marvel characters, and it seems like all the characters are pretty cool so far. So I don't know. Yeah, not something you expect to see in a Marvel game. I mean, they are trying to, you know, they're not giving everyone guns per se, but most people do have like a ranged ability, so, you know, Spider-Man's not out here like capping people with a pistol or anything, but he is using his web shooters to snipe people from afar, for example. You know, granted, there are some characters in which guns make sense, so, you know, Iron Man does use his blasters. Punisher obviously uses guns. Bruce Banner does have a pistol that he uses, but you know, other characters, I mentioned the web shooters, but you know, some other characters do throw spears or they'll chuck magic, and you know, there are some characters who are melee centric. So I think, incidentally, the character named, I believe, Magic does use a sword. I wonder if they let Hulk have his Gamma Crush Super. If I remember correctly, his ultimate in that game just like makes him even hulkier. I think he does have like a lot of attacks where he's like jumping up and slamming the ground and stuff. Maybe not quite like in the way he would in Marvel vs. Capcom, but I imagine that's got to be like a tricky thing to do. Right, make a character fill a certain role with the abilities you have, while you know, making sure they also stay true to their character. Oh, and I just realized we're in ad mode, so sorry. Hopefully you didn't miss out too much on that previous talk. I wonder if I should like go to the other curses and maybe change the modifications there a little bit. Maybe have another one where I fight 2 bosses at once. I mean, as handy as 1 boss at a time is, I can maybe turn that on, turn some other stuff off. That'd be nice. Alright, you pick your challenge. If you want to do a big old boss rush, that's fine. If you just want to take them one after another, that's also fine. But yeah. Marvel Rivals is something my friends were very naturally inclined to, just being like a team-based, free-to-play game with shooter elements to it. So I assume I will probably actually jump into that for maybe a small period of time at least. There were two other great games that my friend got into recently that I was kind of watching them. One of them's called The First Descendant. I've seen some other people stream that too, but that looks a lot like just Warframe, but with waifus, right? If you didn't like Warframe's like variety of power-suited characters, then you can just you know, go with more humanoid folks instead. Other than that, it seems fine, although they're definitely playing up the waifu factor because characters have all manners of variety of alternate outfits that include things like maid dresses. So yeah, you can kind of tell what sort of folks they're trying to attract there. Maybe I'm just stuck in my ways, but I think fighting game. Well, I mean, that's understandable. They've had a ton of them out there. You know, even like some of Marvel's, you know, non-Capcom collaboration stuff tend to be fighting games. Like, I remember the one they made with EA. It's, you know, face planted, but still, they made one, right? Wow, I almost messed that up, but then again, I had 2 revives, so I don't think I was in any danger to begin with. But yeah, apart from, you know, the fighting games, I think the one that stands out, it would be Ultimate Alliance, right? The action RPG spin-off there. I remember playing the first game way back in the day. Couch co-op with my cousins and my younger brother. That was a fun night. I remember they put out like remastered versions of the Alliance and Alliance 2 a while ago, but I think they probably got delisted because licenses are bullshit. And I know there's an Ultimate Alliance 3, but that's a Switch exclusive. If I remember correctly, Nintendo was like the only company that was willing to actually fund anything to that degree. I've not played that one. I wouldn't mind checking it out someday. Go ahead and forge this weapon. One game people seem to forget is X-Men vs. Street Fighter. One of the earliest ones, right? Before they just went for a whole company-wide crossover. Like, I'm almost certain that came about because, you know, Capcom had sprite resources from, you know, Marvel superheroes. X-Men Children of the Atom, they obviously had Street Fighter sprites, so why not just put them together? And of course, Marvel back then, very different beast. Anyways, here's the Death Knight. Look at that. Guy's got a horse. You know, the most adorable horse you ever seen. It's just the way it slides around. Also, rather unique aspect of the Death Knight. You know, they go faster, but they can't dash. But also immune to stun. So, you know, you don't have that sort of freebie that you usually would, right? Anyways, we're gonna pick them. And go to the Frozen Wastelands. Gonna Lich King it up all in here, right? Yeah, you can see this fella schmoves. So this guy's whole deal is that you see those purple flames that show up. You gotta gather them, right? They're like the souls. You'll see this meter slowly build up. And as it hits like certain points, you'll be able to summon a powerful Ebon Knight to fight for you for a bit. I think you have to like get back to the center, right? Because you have this circle here, right? Once you get parts of those meters filled, and then you can get in there. Should I do it? I already got plus 90%. A little extra, for a little extra leeway wouldn't hurt, right? I really wish Marvel would show more love to Onslaught and have him in more games. If only, right? Unfortunately, I feel like the Marvel these days is gonna come to Capcom and like, hey, yo, so we got this guy's gonna show up in a future movie. Do you think he just like stick him in that game, right? Because we want to promote that new movie coming out. That's why I was saying, like, Marvel back then was like a different beast, right? Because they didn't have a whole cinematic universe making them money hand over fist. So I'm guessing they were like a bit more lenient with, you know, the folks they could pick out. Like, even, like, 3, I think, was before MCU really took off, so that's why you got to see characters like, Deadpool and Shuma Gorath and that sort. That's why, you know, Infinite just felt like it was lacking more, right? So I remember one of the big complaints was that the Marvel side just felt a lot like MCU, right? Just MCU all day, every day. You know, with Marvel being in a much different position. But you imagine they had a lot more sway over what they could do. Shuma's my guy! I at least appreciated Shuma for just being this completely out there pick, right? It's like, normally, if I remember correctly, this guy is just like a, you know, not... Oh, why? Oh my god. Yeah, he's a much different fella in the comics, right? Like, he's a much larger character, and also a lot more menacing. But in Marvel, he's just like cute little tentacle guy, right? But yeah, people were saying that, like, you know, you could notice a lot of funky things about the way Infinite is. Like, I think, for example, you know, when they did the character showcases, if I remember correctly, you never saw the Marvel heroes get beat up, right? I don't know if that was like the same deal with villains, but yeah, the Marvel heroes never got beat up. They only did the beating up. I mean, and there were other things that probably made sense to scrutinize over, right? Like, I remember, and this was back in 3, they were talking about how you know, some folks were coming by for Doctor Strange, and they were telling him, okay, so when he's doing this thing, you gotta make sure his hands are in this position, and, you know, doing this thing, and make sure his hands are in this position. And I feel like at least that makes sense, because that's like the kind of scrutinizing you imagine other people would do, so you gotta make sure that's accurate. Make it a little bonus, right? That way, you let everyone know you did your homework. He's like the size of planets in the comics, one of the old ones. Yeah, that's what I was saying. This guy is gigantic. Obviously, having such a gigantic fella as a regular fighter wouldn't work out. And since Shuma Gorath is not a final boss, I guess they had to scale him back. Yeah, even, I would say the Capcom side of Infinite was also maybe not immune to weirdness. Like, I remember one of the complaints people had was the Bionic Commando rep. It's like, why the heck is Spencer still the rep? Like, his game came out like way long before Infinite, and people were just wondering why not put in you know, the other guy. I forget what his name is. Yeah, people were just thinking, oh, is he only in because of Bionic Arm? I mean, oh yeah, and Chris Redfield also being like the returning character rather than, say, another Resident Evil rep. Like, I remember people going, man, would have been fun to play as Leon. Even if you were just like a moveset clone. Oh. Let's summon some allies. Look at that. We're like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So there's what? Death, pestilence, famine. What was the other one? So war? I think it was war, right? War. Okay, yeah, war. I got them all. I wanted to say like Strife and Fury, but I remember those are Darksiders horsemen. Those aren't like, you know, those aren't like, you know, the horsemen from myth, from legend. Everyone loves Leon, yeah. Kind of funny, just like how much support he gets. I guess it helps that, you know, the game that he gets prominently featured in, well, one of the games he was prominently featured in for was kind of like the game everyone really likes. And for good reason. I mean, I know he was also in RE2, right? He was in Resident Evil 2, along with Claire. But yeah, 4, it's like the thing that kind of changed the trajectory of Resident Evil for better or worse. Mostly for the better. I just know there's a very tiny contingent out there that kind of resents it because, you know, after 4, right, you see 5 and 6, they became like third-person shooters, and that's like not what people come to Resident Evil for. Which is why 7 brought it back to its horror roots, and people liked it. And then Village came out. I think started to swing back into shooter territory, although they still had their, you know, big scare moments, but we were a bit more capable of fighting back, at least. Yep, him and Claire make a great team. I think that was like one of the things people maybe had reservations for in Resident Evil 2 Remake. As fantastic as it was otherwise. I think people were saying like the A and B routes weren't as differentiated as they would be in the original Resident Evil. Which I guess is like a kind of a cost-saving measure, if I had to assume. Would also explain why 3 is such a pared-down version of, you know, the original RE3. And I remember people being, like, majorly bummed out that Nemesis wasn't quite the threat that he was in the original 3. Also a lot shorter, too, if I remember correctly. Wasn't keen on the organic plant monsters that were in 7 that missed the proper OG zombies. Well, I guess when you're like 7, 8 games in, you gotta find some way to keep it fresh. Like they spent like, what, 6, 7, 8, 9 games? And if you count like the side games and the spin-offs, they've been fighting zombies for quite a while. Can I just understand why they might want to mix it up? Especially since, like, you know, everyone and their dog was, like, doing some sort of zombie game, right? It wasn't just Capcom, right? Everyone seemed to have some sort of zombie co-op shooter or zombie survival game or zombie, twin stick coming out there. Zombies everywhere, and I know public opinion was kind of turning on zombies, right? Because they were all getting tired of it. So I guess Capcom just wanted to do something else to go, yo, no, these are kind of sort of like zombies, but we're not calling them zombies. They have a completely different origins and makeup and everything, so yeah, don't worry about it. The zombie genre got so overbloated in games and films, right? Seemed like every other day we were hearing some sort of thing about another thing related to zombies in some way or another. I mean, some of them managed to do something unique out of it, but for the most part, it's just an excuse to tell like a post-apocalyptic survivor tale of, oh, humans suck and something, I guess, I don't know. You know what I wish would come back to prominence? Dinosaurs. Remember when dinosaurs, I guess, were a bigger thing? Like, not just Jurassic Park, but also Dino Crisis. You remember Dino Crisis? They had, like, the PlayStation game, then Dino Crisis 2, also a PlayStation game. And they had Dino Crisis 3, which, for some reason, took it to space. And I know they tried to bring it back to some degree with Exo Primal, but I think I remember reading somewhere that they finished doing updates for that game, so it's like, man, they tried. They tried so hard. I do indeed remember that, yeah. I remember Dino Crisis. I only played 2, though. I heard 2 was still pretty good. Although 1, obviously, being the one that kind of got people's eyes on it because, well, it was the first game to have survival horror, but with dinosaurs, so yeah. Also, hello, Bash13, right? Is that how I pronounce that? Welcome. Thanks for checking me out. Turok 2, oh my god! How could I forget about Turok? I had a friend back in the day who was like super into it because obviously dinosaurs, you got to be a cool guy shooting dinosaurs. What's not to love about that? I think you can get the games on Steam. Pretty sure I have them on Steam. Maybe one of these days I'll check one of them out. Along with the hundreds and hundreds of other games that I say I'm going to check out. Yup, you're correct. Good to hear. I also have to check out a fellow Stinky too. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're watching me play video games. It's a good day for video games when it's super duper hot out. Oh, it's like not. It's a good reason, more of a reason to just stay inside, right? Hydrate. Thank you. Once I get to the next skill screen, I will make sure to drink some water. All right, there we go. Yeah, even if you are inside where it's hopefully relatively cooler, good to stay hydrated, right? Because, you know, it's just a thing you want to have in general. Oh, I didn't realize I just set the Lords of the Void to like 2 per milestone here. Yeah, this is what I'm saying about, like, the whole modular difficulty thing, right? As long as you hit certain numbers, you're good to go. You can build it out any way you want. Alright, I'm gonna go over here. That's another win. So I think that's like all the new characters that they've introduced since then. Okay, because the one before that is Necromancer. I played the heck out of this guy. Look at that, level 154. But this was pretty much the fella you wanted to turn to if you wanted to actually have a chance at like clearing out max curse level, because it was the only one able to like DPS the bosses down in a reasonable amount of time so that you wouldn't get overwhelmed by everything. I'm not sure if they took the nerf bat to like the Necromancer's abilities, but with like other builds that are viable now, Necro's not as essential, right? Why, half my fridge is flavored water. As long as you're getting your hydration in one way or another, right? So take a look at the skill tree real quick. Oh man. So yeah, individual characters won't start gaining skill points until they hit level 20. You gotta be mindful of that. Right, the first 20 levels are just empty, but once you do that, you can come over here, unlock their class ability, and then start building your way out. So you gotta like invest a certain number of points in the current skills that are visible until before like new ones show up. So you gotta. Thankfully, you don't have to like invest in every skill. You just have to do like most of them. Thinking. Yes, I am very much thinking right now. Where should I invest my skill points here? And I like sitting on a treasure trove of resources too. Balances out my coffee addiction. It's good to have a variety of drinks. I know some other people who just drink a whole lot of coffee. I think one of my cousins does that. It's like every day when he wakes up, I see him just put in a pot and just brew that, and then he'll just like drink coffee throughout the day. I'm like, how do they manage that, man? This is the other reason why you want to try to build out every character possible, because, you know, each sort of like section that you uncover will also give you a rune that you can like, you know, come over here and then put on all your characters, right? You might find some runes that might be conductive to multiple builds, like, you know, this one here is good for any class that just focuses on summons and things like that, right? Not to mention you got these nodes here that are like, yes, you will get the stat boost, but every character gets the stat boost, right? It's not just the one here, so all the more reason to kind of give everyone a shot at least, right? It's like, don't talk to me till I've had coffee. I've seen some people like that, where they're like practically non-responsive until they had their coffee, and then suddenly it's like a switch that just like flipped on inside them. They're just ready to go. Personally, I hope I never reach that point. I never reach a point where I actually need coffee to just get to a point resembling a sign of life. That's just me, though. I think it's like mostly a money thing. right? Because imagine, you know, that's a couple bucks each day. Yeah, before that, it's shadow.exe isn't responding, right? I mean, I do confess, there is a coffee shop near me that I've kind of sort of started visiting every now and then because they make some pretty decent coffee drinks, and they're a local business too, so, you know, I want to show my support for them that way as well. You know, they got like affordable drinks and some interesting ones too, so I like to give them my business. But even then, yeah, even then, I'm only maybe going by like once or twice a week. I'm not going there like every day. It's an occasional treat, you know? $4.95 for coffee at my fave place. Woo! And think, yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll get that. And that's it for skill points for that fella. Does anyone else have skill points? No, I think I got them all. Okay. Guess we can just do some other runs, right? Now let's go with the Legionnaire. I like this guy. He's cool. Check out these new runes. You have 3 fewer skill slots, but all damage you cause is increased by 80%. Increases your damage modifier by 15% for 5 seconds whenever you consume stacks of ammunition. Well, this is for a very specific subset of characters, but I'm sure they will appreciate something like that. Increase your critical chance by 15% for 5 seconds whenever you consume stacks of icy veins. Wow. Another very, very specific rune, but the characters who use that will appreciate it. Okay, let's go to this area. Dungeon of Despair. Oh, no, I wanted to click. Wait, before I do that, let's see if I can maybe put something up here. Yeah, we'll throw that up. And guess Council of Lords. Okay. Now we fight. 3 to 4 times a day here, I'll pop in a branch of my coffee shop. Oh, wait. Did I not change? I only selected the Legionnaire. Here, I'm just gonna surrender. It's okay, we didn't get that far in here. There. Now we can get into the Dungeon of Despair. Yeah, the primary reason you would want to have more bosses is to have like more of those large stones, because yeah, certain skill nodes kind of want that, so it's nice to have. I've actually run into instances where I'm short on resources and have to, like, you know, go to a specific area to gather more materials for it. But I feel like that'll all stabilize at some point, right? And eventually I'll reach the point where I don't need to gather any more of a certain kind of material. Won't be for a while, though. But yeah, as you can see, this is like one of the characters that maybe focuses a bit more on self-buffs. I mean, sure, they got fire skills so they can burn up the enemies, but they also get stacks of stuff for themselves. And then there are some abilities and powers that will benefit that stuff. You can see here the Legionnaire's whole deal is that it's got to run around and gather these parts, and you got those blue outlines in 5 areas showing off like the catapults that he can build. You see, like because of the skills I picked up, I only need 17 of them, but normally it would be 20, right? When you start building this out, it's like 20 parts per catapult. But this one's kind of funny because, you know, you only need so many parts, right? This is a finite thing. Once you get a catapult up, it stays forever. It doesn't, like, go away after a certain amount of time or anything like that, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, you do reach a point where you don't need to do anything anymore and just play Soulstone Survivors like you normally would. Also, I'm doing it personally, but you don't have to wait until you get the required number of parts to drop them off. You can just, you know, drop them off beforehand, like so. Yeah, 1 is 17. Oh, they really bumped the number to 20. I'm fighting 3 at once. Yeah, now this is the Soulstone Survivors you kind of sort of remember. Still considerably more manageable, though, because, again, they're not gonna keep ticking up the enemy counter. So, you know, if you need to get back, reposition yourself, or frantically dash around their arena looking for some sort of health pickup, you can totally do that now. Also, I don't know why I picked up, like, a parts probability increase. Yeah, as you can see here, they are a bit of work, but you can choose how much of a work they will be. This is like so despair-inducing before, right? You beat up a boss and then you just see like another life bar show up and take the place. It's basically just like a whole entire round of just running around the edge of the area, trying to dodge every red thing on the floor. Just praying that you didn't run into one by accident. It really be like a run and gun. It kind of was, yeah. You know, remember the days of the old school FPSs where the primary strategy was just, you know, backstep your way around the arena. Just hope to God that you didn't catch yourself on the wall. Because that's when the horde would catch up and completely do you in. Also nice is that the catapults don't have like health or anything like that either. They just function, right? They're just like a passive source of extra damage. You don't have to worry about them anymore. Yeah, the Legionnaire really just has a slow buildup of power over time. There is a cap to it, but it is nice. At least one thing I can give the devs credit for is that they do try to make all the characters at least feel different mechanically, right? Like, you could even see that among the 4 I played. Each one had a different class mechanic, different ways to gather their resource, and different benefits from it. Right, some of them just got stronger, some of them got, like, extra allies to help fight for them. But something to kind of mix it up and, like, at least give a little variety with each character you play as, rather than have them all just be, oh yeah, you have access to a different pool of skills with this fella. Have fun. Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to mention is that I also like that they went and had like a bit of an enemy overhaul for some of these areas too. Right? Like when earlier on in this game, right, each area would have like a same set of enemies, but now they're trying to mix it up, right? Like this dungeon here has rats and skeletons, but some other area might have like, you know, wolves, and others might have like more abominable creatures. Also, you managed to give each area like a little bit of its own identity as well, so that's pretty neat. It's taking a little longer to kill these guys, but that's okay. I think 3 might be the upper limit for me. 3 is probably the most number of bosses I can handle at once. I feel like past that, there's just too many attacks on the screen, and that's when things get real hairy. Alright, there we go. Now that we have all 5 catapults assembled, you might have seen that like all the parts just disappeared off the screen. Now you're free to just play Soulstone Survivors. Always to hope with the buff-based skills, you want to get cooldown and duration to a point where you have 100% uptime, as they call it. This is like the one numbers game I can actually wrap my head around. Alright, how do I manipulate, you know, duration and cooldown to a point that this buff is just going to be a permanent thing, right? I think I'm already there, to be honest. This one, okay, Bloodlust isn't quite there yet, but yeah, Lightning Surge I could probably start ignoring cooldown and duration abilities. Ooh, now we're schmovin'. Part of me wants to kind of try out another, like, just full-on max curse run again, just for kicks and see if I can survive it. Because I did it way back in the day. As I said before, I did it all with Necromancer because that was just the class you wanted to turn to if you wanted to annihilate max level bosses with impunity. Or with any degree of reasonable time frame, right? I managed to do that and get that out of the way. If I remember correctly, there were like rewards tied to completing like a max curse run in each area. Kind of getting closer to getting that 100% uptime. I don't know why, but that one joke just like suddenly popped into my head. The one's like, "Do you know up, dog?" And then the other person goes, "What's up, dog?" And then you go, "Nothing much, how about you? Ah ha ha, ah ha ha." Nah, it's I enjoy that one. At the very least, it's not mean-spirited, it's just a little bit of wordplay. Oh yeah, something like, knock knock, who's there? Owls go. Owls go who? I think I also like it because it's like a twist on the standard style of joke, right? It's like the punchline arrives one line earlier than you expect it to, so you're just going ah. Or like something like, say, interrupting cow, who boo. I feel like dad jokes are just gonna fill more and more of my repertoire as time goes on. Everyone enjoys a good pun, right? At the very least, everyone likes reacting to a pun. Whether it be good or bad. See, I don't even need this one anymore. I could just probably banish it. Make some room for some other skills. If I remember correctly, was it the reroll banish locks used to be just like 1 per level? So you'd have like less opportunity to kind of manipulate things into your favor. But I guess with like the sheer volume of things they have now, they would increase that to like 2 per level, which is pretty neat. And then, even then, some of the versatility runes will even increase that number further, so you can have every opportunity to kind of, like, optimize the build into something good for you. But I feel like, in this kind of game, there's probably a lot of things that are viable, right? It's not like you're looking for, like, the one specific thing that will completely take it over the top. You just need like a general set of things that will help you out. You don't necessarily need like, you know, specific skills, specific powers in order to really, really pop off like you might in other survivor type games. Sure, there are some stats that you would want to prioritize over others, right? Maybe not focus so much on defensive stuff or things like area of effect, but just go for things like cast rate, multicast rate, damage up, obviously, but still. I think there's like a little bit more ways you can kind of build yourself out. And of course, depending on who you pick, certain builds might be more viable than others. But you can certainly do as you wish. Give you plenty of options, and that's always appreciated, right? Just options. For people who want to do the efficient stuff, that's cool. If other people want to maybe try just something really, really out there, that's cool too. Like one of my friends who was playing Diablo 4, right? He doesn't really follow any metas. He just sees this thing and goes, is there, what can I do with this, right? How can I build it out and make something that resembles effectiveness? Kind of goes from there. I think the example he was talking about was it's like a barbarian build that utilizes like a variety of weapon types. So gotta admit, I don't play Diablo 4 myself, so I don't know the specifics, but I'm guessing it's not like a thing that a lot of people take a look at, but it's something he wanted to build out, and that's pretty cool, right? I thought that life bar would never go down. I mean, I thought it would never empty out. I don't know why I said that. Really dumb thing to say, to be honest. Purple skeletons. Man. What do you think their diet consisted of that would make their bones turn purple? Perhaps they fell into like a vat of grape juice or something. Or maybe it's wine. Oh, it makes sense, right? This dungeon is probably in a basement, and there's probably like a cellar somewhere off in the corner somewhere, where they have their wines aged like a fine wine. Oh. See, if that were a harder difficulty level, I might have gotten caught on that corner and done in. That's the thing about high difficulty levels. It seems like the one thing that seems to be consistent about them. Damage gets just higher and higher, usually to the point where your full health may as well have only two states, right? 1 and 0. Either you're alive or you're dead, because if anything touches you, you're either going to be dead or very close to it. And it's going to take a while for you to kind of recover back to that point where you can take another hit and still live from it. But I get it. If certain games have a thing like regenerating health, that might be the perhaps most efficient way to kind of up the difficulty. It's just like decrease the number of mistakes you can make. Because that's what health kind of boils down to, right? It's like a mistakes meter. Depending on how bad the mistake is, You either take a lot of damage, or you take a little bit of it. These folks are durable as heck. Alright, here we go. Final boss set. We're in it to win it. You know what another thing is about the early games? I remember having to dash like an absolute fiend. And it was mostly because of the side effect of just having a zillion bosses on screen at once, but I feel like in this nowadays, I don't nearly have to dash as often. I mean, obviously I still have to sometimes, depending on the attack, but it's not like I'm just like sitting there hammering spacebar constantly, just so I can cover as much distance as possible. Oh, lordy, that's a huge one. That's what they said. Ah, there we go. I was wondering if I'd get the other fella, and then I did. Whew, alright. Okay. I guess I could show... Oh, wait, return through the... Oh! Wait, why return through the portal? I was gonna show you one more thing, but... I wonder if it's something I did that stopped me from doing that. Okay, well, go to the skill tree here and spend the Legionnaire's points. I got most of the good ones. Also gotta try not to spend them willy-nilly because I do want to build out the other characters. This has been, like, the biggest bottleneck for me at the moment, just having the basic currency. Usually one run will be enough to kind of spend a few points, but I have gotten to situations where, you know, I got points to spend, but not enough of these minor soul stones to actually activate some of the skills, so. Okay. We're actually gonna do one more, and hopefully, thing will properly pop off there. I could do ice skills. Let's see if I have Elementalist runes. Huh. Guess not. Alright, I can build this out. I only did that remove the green dot because you have to go in here and then select the thing in order to take the green dot away, but you can only select these runes if you have an open versatility slot, so. Let's see. Alright, go with my standard for this one. Multi-chain. Crit rate up. Maybe I should go with cycling damage. It is just a straight damage boost. And I like the skills that kind of up your damage when enemies that are like certain health thresholds. Actually, let's see what materials I need. I can... Oh. Dungeon of Despair again. Okay, well, maybe I'll tweak some of the extra settings down here. Yeah, okay. Let's fight. Yeah, because there's been like a small change to like the way the infinite modes work too. I wanted to show that off at least once. Can rarely pass up on a purple. Oh, should I get Chromatic Bolt? Nah, I just wanna... I'll just keep on getting ice skills, because that's the direction I'm building this. Defeated enemies have a 10% chance of dropping elemental orbs. When you collect 3, you immediately release a burst of energy based on the orbs collected. Okay. Yeah, this all comes back around to each character plays a little differently, slightly different benefits. So this one you might have to maybe put on the thinking cap a little bit if you need you know, certain abilities, or you want like a certain attacks to pop off. These orbs drop rather frequently. Yeah, as you can see, I've changed things, so now I only have to defeat like 3 bosses per milestone and only fight 1 at a time. So, like I said, you can choose just how hard these things are. I am leveling up like crazy. Oh, before I forget. Has anyone been keeping tabs on Evo? Because that happened last weekend. I at least caught the announcements from there, and man, some of them were pretty crazy. I think I might have mentioned Capcom versus SVC Chaos SNK versus Capcom before. Just got a release on platforms everywhere. Absolutely shocking, right? I remember opinions about that game being a lot more negative back in the day, but I feel like a lot of that has cooled off since then. Who knows, maybe being the one, you know, Capcom versus SNK being developed by SNK, so you kind of got their take on things. Not to mention, like, all the Capcom characters kind of getting that sort of SNK sprite treatment. Might have been a neat draw for it too. That and, you know, the character choices as well, right? Like, is there another game that's going to let you play as Mega Man Zero or Mars People? Probably not. Not to mention that whole post-apocalyptic vibe it had going for it. Like, why was everything in ruins? Don't think they ever explained it in-game, but apparently someone actually had a plot for that. I know I've said this many, many, many times before, but boy, I really, really hope one day we'll see Capcom versus SNK 3. I feel like that would be like a Marvel versus Capcom 3 level announcement. Like, once they put that name out there, right? The hype is going to be through the roof. Like, I was going to be mega excited for it. Like, we can hope that Terry and Mai showing up in Street Fighter 6 is only the start. And of course, it's only been like, what, a year since Street Fighter 6 came out, so obviously they probably want to have all their focus on that. I remember reading somewhere, someone said that maybe Capcom perhaps jumped the gun a bit too much. Like back when Street Fighter 4 came out and like started their fighting game renaissance, and they were kind of just throwing a whole bunch of them out there. So now I can see what, if they want to pace themselves some more, that's fine. Right, let 6 have their time in the spotlight, and then after a couple of years they can start announcing their next project. Whatever that may be, I'm sure everyone will be looking forward to it. I know people have been clamoring for like a proper Marvel vs. Capcom 4 as well, right? After Infinite just went and like face planted really hard. Just make a proper Marvel vs. Capcom 4 and just like forget that Infinite ever existed. Again, I've said this before, but it is a real shame that turned out the way it did, because Infinite did have some good ideas going for it. It's just like, you know, everything else around it unfortunately doomed that game to a quick end. Seriously, being able to play as characters like Mega Man X and Captain Marvel, and through DLC, folks like, you know, Black Panther, Sigma, Monster Hunter, that should have been really, really cool. It is just a shame. It is just a shame about everything else. Like, maybe if they perhaps made the graphics look more stylized and more modes, better story, maybe different roster choices. Never thought I'd be one to complain about the roster, but man, just a few change of characters here and there might at least have more people think fondly of it. It probably says something that, of all the games being modded, it's 3, right? It's Marvel vs. Capcom 3 that's getting the mods for new characters and stuff, and not Infinite. I remember when that one trailer for like a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 mod just gained a lot of traction even outside its regular circle, but hey, who wouldn't be excited, right? Because they were modding in characters like Jean and Honestly, he's the only one I remember, but you know, they were putting in the work, right? They were giving the fellas like unique movesets and everything, so very much like you know, a labor of love and all that. Oh, speaking of mods, y'all see Fallout London? I had to admit, first word I got of it was just seeing that GOG was like having it. They had a whole page for it on their site, and I just thought that was crazy. I don't think I've ever seen like any other mod like quite get this treatment. There might have been those out there, but I'm not aware of those, but still pretty cool that sort of have like this easy way for you to kind of get this mod set up and everything. One of my friends was actually playing that during the week, and I got to see a little bit of it. It certainly looks like a modded Fallout game, but they've put in work, right? You know, they added a whole bunch of like, you know, England-centric flavor to it, and otherwise still a Fallout game. At least you know what you're getting into. Like, oh, geez. Okay. So, there, lesson learned. Don't get hit, period, because you're just gonna get rocked. I mean, they are like a, you know, squishy wizards, so it makes sense. It's just how the combat works, right? And anytime I hear about like a, you know, sort of rock, paper, scissors style tactical combat, my mind always goes to like a RuneScape combat triangle. If I remember correctly, the triangle went something like mages are effective against warriors, warriors are effective against rangers, and rangers are effective against mages. Oh, I guess I would also be remiss to not mention Fire Emblem, like everyone remembers, you know, sword versus axe versus lance versus sword, at least on the physical side. Depending on the game, you might also have like a magic triangle. Maybe like a fire, wind, lightning triangle, or maybe a anima, light, dark triangle as well. Or could they could do what Heroes did and just have like red, blue, green. But I think Heroes color really doesn't matter as much anymore because everyone just like freaking one-shots everything else. It's just become like a giant game of rocket tag. Like, are you able to shoot your one-hit kill rockets at everyone else, or are they going to be able to withstand your one-hit kill rockets and then one-hit kill you in return? Such is the nature of power creep, I guess. Eventually, it becomes all about that one-shot threshold. Or at least a threshold to decrease the number of hits you need to defeat a person. Because that's like one extra round you can devote to something else, right? Or one fewer round they have to take you out in return. No, a lot of people probably find it weird that I still play that game. But it's the kind of thing that's like super easy to kind of just start up and then do something else, especially since they have auto battle options. Even if like the best auto battle is locked behind a pass, which is supremely annoying, but even then it's like minimal attention you need to pay to it. You can just go off and do other stuff while your characters play the game for you. And you know, at that point, why would you even still play the game is a very valid argument. To which I say, I like building up new character, I guess. They added Rosado a while ago. I wanna make him the best there was, right? So many orbs everywhere. You can just pop off with these attacks. Or I don't even need to worry about, you know, collecting the elements or anything like that. Just run into them as I go. No matter what comes out, it's gonna help me. It's net benefit. Go. Final enemy set. Okay, we'll see if maybe this arrangement will let me go into like the endless modes or not. So I found the way they changed that up to be interesting. I wonder if it's more of a resource saving measure than anything. One more boss. Ah, there you are. I have to remember I only have one more revive. So I might actually want to try to dodge the red circles on the ground. Whew, made it. Ah, here we go. Alright, so we'll go through here. This is like the escalation one. This is one where they'll level everything up. The other one just kind of loops you around, but... yeah, they take you to this new area, just a nondescript circular area. You know, before they would kind of just stick you in a random zone, and then you would go from there, but now... you're kind of in a smaller space, no obstacles. You kind of just like circle straight to your heart's content. I'm sure they explained why they did it, but I'm just assuming that they mostly did it as like a time-saving and resource-saving measure. And the materials you can get can still come from any region, right? So it's not like you're just farming for the one area. Also changed the requirements to kind of... they changed the milestones, right? It, like, you know, your first run, your first complete run in any stage is to defeat a certain number of enemies, but once you start looping, then they require you to defeat elite monsters. In this case, the folks with life bars over their heads. So I guess if you really wanted, you could just beeline your way through the, you know, the endless loops as well, as long as you seek out folks with life bars, which is an option you can trigger. Normally, everyone would have their life bar visible, but I changed that so that only elite enemies have their life bar visible. Mostly for like readability purposes, but I assume the performance improvements will be helpful as well. Not to mention just being able to visually determine which enemies are elite and which ones aren't. Because the smaller fry tend to have so little health that you don't really need to know how much they have anyway. Excuse me. I wonder if that's just a thing like every streamer faces. They talk so much that they end up just building up a whole lot of gas and then they just like burp occasionally. Hopefully the burps aren't too intrusive. I know some other folks who will mute the mic when they have to burp. Perhaps understandably so. Not everyone wants to hear that. It is just a bodily function, but, you know. And then there's some other folks who will just burp freely. Man, that was a durable fella. Yeah, I'll probably just do this loop and then call it. A little too close for comfort. Here we go, number 3. Oh. I should have dashed. Why did I not dash? Or I should have taken some movement speed upgrades as well. I feel like a good number of these characters feel like they're like moving through molasses sometimes. You need like a handful of movement upgrades to make them feel like they're moving at any reasonable pace. I gotta admit, I do enjoy more of the summon-based builds. It's just fun, like, seeing a bunch of dudes just run around the screen and giving all the foes what for. When I was playing Remnant 2, my favorite class mix-up was, like, Summoner plus whatever the class was that let you have the dog. So having, like, 3 folks around, and then having, like, a variety of items that gave you benefits based on the number of summons you had. Made them all the more viable. Oh, uh-oh. That's it. That's all my freebies gone. I gotta be extra careful now. I might not even make it through this loop. Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to show off this area, is all. And yeah, I still got a victory in my first loop, so all good. Uh-oh. Oh, this is gonna get bad. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess we get to see this other thing. They added in the proper "you died" sequence. If you remember before, the moment you run out of health, they would have just popped up this defeat screen right away. But now, if you run out of HP, they'll show you like a little cutscene of your... they'll zoom in and show your character just ragdolling for a little bit. Just to give you maybe a bit more of an indication that, yes, this is the definitive end of the run. Funny thing is, if you don't like that, they do have an option that just turns it off and it'll just bring you right here as before. But yeah. Just go ahead and spend these. Does this character have any movement modifiers I can perhaps tap into? Doesn't look like it. I'll probably just go for the damage stuff then. It's 3 skill points, okay. Well, anyways, I think that has been another good look at Soulstone Survivors. Got quite the glow up. I think the changes they've done with you know, the underlying systems have been all for the better. This is a way more manageable game now, especially on higher difficulties. And all the new characters they have are all pretty neat. Lots more carrots on a stick to go for, so yeah, I would easily recommend this game even in its current state if you want to have a horde survival game with a unique premise to it and everything. And also look forward to seeing further updates from these folks. Like, they're teasing extra stuff. I want to see what artifact power is going to be all about. I want to see what that extra thing here is going to be all about. I want to see what new characters they're going to throw in here, and what new runes and abilities and weapons and skills and powers and stuff they'll throw at us. I'm sure they are hard at work on it, and I look forward to seeing what they got. But for now, I think I will go ahead and call it here. So yeah, thanks to everyone who came by and chatted and hung out, and even if you just lurked, I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll be back on Wednesday, where I will stream Project Cars. Guess what? It's more Project Cars. Yeah, more cars! Gonna continue year 3, and see what else they got to throw at us. Okay. Let's look for someone to raid, and I'll have to maybe fire up some music in the background. Not that one. Let's see. Soulstone Survivors OST. Oh wow. This video on the front page of YouTube just reminded me. Jeff the Shark coming to Marvel Rivals? What? They got some pretty good pulls in there. Right? That's the kind of thing you would definitely want to introduce to let people know, yeah, we know Marvel. We know about this guy. Here he is in the game. Have fun with him. And they also added him alongside Venom, right? The good old classic character that everyone loves, so that's cool. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna turn down the volume a bit. Here. Hopefully this won't trip any sort of audio mute things. Actually, I might turn it down further because of that. There, okay. Let's look for someone to raid. Who can we go bother at this hour? Nice thing about coming back in the afternoon, it's like perhaps a different set of people you can raid into. Oh, wow. Might have found someone, but let's keep looking. Couple of folks I want to read. But as always, I can only pick one of them. must have raided them before, because apparently I'm following them, but you know what, we'll raid them again because they're playing a cool game. I keep on forgetting that. I could probably just go to like the raid channel finder, they'll drum up some choices for me there. I don't know, I always feel like I'd be intimidated just trying to raid into people with higher viewer counts. I mean, most people like really do not care in the slightest, but something I gotta psych myself up for, you know? I hope that makes sense. Alright. Haven't raided them in the last 30 days. I think this should be cool. Through, alright. Gabby Tori is playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. The first one, you know, it's the one Yakuza goes RPG and you get to play as a frizzy-haired fella named Ichiban and go through his chuny fantasies while he beats up thugs, modern-day thugs. It's fun. I played through it. It's very fun. I need to get back to it and finish it. That's a thing for another day. Great message. I'm lazy. I don't feel like thinking of anything more complex. There. If you're joining on the raid, give them a Soulstone raid. And if not, have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll see you on Wednesday for Project Cars. Take care. Random thing. I'm getting a bit more variety in my skeb appeals. Like, I had a composer appeal to me, and now I got, like, an appeal from someone who does animation? Should I go to them? Kinda pricey. Maybe I gotta think about this some more. Alright, see ya.